Welcome to the Successful Home Inspector Podcast, where we discuss everything you need to know about home inspection from A to Z. Brought to you by Preston Sandlin and Home Inspection Carolina. We're here to share some success stories and some not so successful stories. Some things we can all learn from, and maybe, just maybe, we can help each other and raise the profession. So sit back, turn up the volume, and enjoy. Now, here's your host of the Successful Home Inspector Podcast, Preston Sandlin.
I always like to have guaranteed inspections. Well, now you can with InspectNewHomes.com. Owned and operated by the Home Inspector team. The only website that's designed for new builders and home inspectors to collaborate and work together. It's a grading system that grades new homes to increase the quality product of their homes. Bring the new builder something they've never had before. Quality inspection by a licensed home inspector at InspectNewHomes.com.
A special treat here for you today whenever you're listening to it. We are doing it here. We're doing this interview on St. Patrick's Day. I am here with Mark Wahl of Boynton Beach, Florida. How you doing this morning, Mark?
I'm doing great, Preston. How are you?
Good. I've known Mark, I guess, a couple of years now. We've been in some similar conferences and stuff, but I've heard about Mark for a long time, and it's always been good stuff. In fact, I was listening to a mastermind call ironically last night, and your name came up, and they were speaking highly of you. So good stuff.
Well, that's good to know.
Well, Mark, tell us a little bit about you. We'd like to get to know you personally.
Well, Preston, as you said, we are from Boynton Beach, Florida. I actually was raised on the Jersey Shore. I was a beach bum. I mean, as a kid, we used to ride to the beach every day after school. Got married about 24 years ago and moved to Florida about 12 years ago, and that's when I got into the home inspection business. I'm happily married, have 3 wonderful grandchildren, and life is good.
Awesome. You don't look like you're old enough to have grandchildren, man.
Oh, I'm older than you think I am. I'm 50. I'll be 55 years old this year.
Okay, I just turned 48 2 weeks ago.
You're a kid.
Well, so Mark, tell us how you got into the home inspection business. I was doing a little pre-thing where you were in the insurance business previous to that, but anyway,
yes.
What led up to all that, and what did you want to be when you were a kid, too?
Well, as a kid, I wanted to be a baseball player, but we joke, and there's a lot of kids who play baseball, a lot of kids who play football, and while I was a good baseball player, I wasn't good enough to get much out of Babe Ruth League, which was fine because it's, you know what, the competition level above that was pretty amazing. Actually, I was in the insurance business for about 27 years. I started out as an auto adjuster, worked my way up through the ranks, and was actually a regional supervisor for one of the largest insurance companies in the world.
Oh.
And then after that, actually got into corporate risk management, which I was doing a lot of property inspections, ironically, for my corporate clients around the world.
Okay.
And ironically, once we moved down here, another person who is a member of our mastermind group,
mm-hmm.
He and I have been friends about 44 years now, 43 years.
Wow.
And he got into the business in 2005 on the west coast of Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And after about a year of nagging me, convinced me to get into the business. So I got trained. We were an unlicensed state at the time, so I picked up my certifications and started the business part-time because I still was a corporate risk manager traveling around the world with my clients.
Right.
And then about 2 years later, and I think you saw this story when we were in Dallas in February, I actually lost my corporate job.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point decided, you know what, I'm going to try to make this thing grow. And that was in 2008, which was dead smack in the middle of the real estate collapse.
Right.
So my wife and I were looking at each other going, well, do you really want to do this? Oh, well, you know what? But you know what? It's been, we're coming up on our 11th year in business, and we've never looked back. We were a single-man shop for the first 7 years, and then started bringing on staff, and we're actually in the process of bringing on additional staff right now. So it's been a wild ride, but it's a great ride.
Awesome. Well, the fellow you were talking about, is that Bob Hintz? I'm not sure.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, okay. So now he has Waypoint, you have Waypoint East. Are y'all connected or just kind of loosely connected? What is it?
No, what ended up happening was when I established the company, we had agreed that it would be easier, because we're on opposite coasts, to have separate corporations, run separate businesses, but we share a lot of the same marketing.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The logos are the same except for a little wording. The brochures are always very similar. And what it does is it actually makes us appear as a statewide company.
Sure. I could definitely see some advantages to that. That's cool.
So it's a good thing.
Awesome. Well, Mark, you said you've been in the business now about 11 years, full-time, and a little bit before that. Tell us about some of the changes you've seen in that time.
Well, in the state of Florida, like I said before, home inspectors were an unlicensed profession.
Right.
So anybody could hang a shingle and say they were a home inspector.
Okay.
But when we were both establishing the businesses, we did it in the way where we actually went to ITA, which was Kevin O'Malley's training school.
Right.
And actually trained properly, and actually then, while it was not required, both passed the National Home Inspectors exam, which enabled us immediate access into ASHI.
Okay.
That way it made us stand out a little bit differently. About 7 or 8 years ago, Florida passed a licensing law, and while everybody was happy it was a license, it was, we thought it would, quote-unquote, cull the herd and remove some people who were not inspecting or not doing it properly. And unfortunately, at that point, it didn't have the teeth behind it to do that, because they grandfathered in any general contractor who wanted to be a home inspector. So it's been a challenge. Even from county to county, there are different ways of doing things. I mean, we're based in Palm Beach County, and we're probably, we have the largest concentration of home inspectors in the state of Florida in Palm Beach.
Right.
We do our things our way, and once I ventured down into Broward County and into Miami-Dade County, they do things a little bit differently because the realtors want us to provide estimates of damage in the home inspection report, and that's not part of the standards of practice.
Yeah,
and it's not something we can legally do.
Right. Well, it's tough, too, because if you have a certain amount for the damage and they go into closing and ask for that amount, and, then they get the contractor out there to repair it, and it's, $5,000 more.
That is an argument we have had on message boards now throughout Florida for the past 3 months.
Yeah, that's, because we always get asked here, fortunately it's not the norm, I hope it never becomes the norm, but I always say, it's hard for me to estimate somebody else's work. I had a fender vendor, and I went and got 3 estimates, and they ranged from $800 to $3,500. The exact same, it was the same fender vendor. So you're going to ask somebody who's not going to do the work to estimate that. What's he going to say? Right,
and unfortunately the realtors are set in their ways, and they say, well, if you don't give us estimates of damages, we're not going to use you.
Yeah, and then, if you are doing the repairs, well, that could be a conflict,
That's a direct conflict with our license.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's interesting.
Yeah, we've had licensing here in North Carolina since '99, and I've done a lot of these interviews, and a lot of people have gone through it more recently. And there's pros and cons, licensed versus non-licensed. And, this might get me in trouble, but I don't care. One thing I don't like, we have the licensing thing, and, like they have this thing, the extortion fee, that you have to pay to be in some of the real estate offices. They make you pay to market.
Correct.
Whatever. I did it. Several other people did it. And, whatever. Some inspectors were mad, and I understand, whatever. So the board passed the thing where we couldn't do that anymore. They issued a memorandum or whatever. So I dropped out of every single one of mine, sent certified letters showing where I, did it, whatever. But here's what makes me mad, Mark. There's home inspectors that still do it, and they're not enforcing it. So it's kind of like, is that just a suggestion? It's like you said, it has no teeth. I'm like, so you're making these rules. I'm trying to follow them to be the good whatever, but, there's other folks who aren't following them, and you aren't enforcing them. So what, I'm not trying to whine here, but, that gives them an advantage if I'm trying to play by the rules you set, but you're not, you understand what I'm saying?
I understand 100%, sir.
And it's like a football game where one team's playing by the rules and the other one isn't, but they're not calling any fouls or anything, or any throwing.
Sounds like the movie Friday Night Lights.
Yeah, exactly. So, I don't know. I'll probably get a little mastergram from my board for that. But
no, you know what? And it happens here too, and it depends on the office, because when they changed the processing with TRID, I guess it was the beginning of the year, right, there is a gray area as to whether or not a broker can provide a vendor list. And there are some brokers who say, yes, we can, and we can charge for it. And there are other brokers who say, we don't know. So the fact is, they err on the side of caution and they have the list, but they don't charge for it.
Yeah.
So it's a very strange situation.
Yeah. Well, and the home inspection board can't they don't govern the real estate board, but
right,
they do govern us. So, it's a mess, but, we'll move on from that. There'll be some.
Absolutely.
Well, you talked about hiring some folks, and you were a single man for quite a while, and so was I, man. I was doing those 3 inspections a day, staying up late, and finally figured I had to hire some people, and I probably did everything the wrong way. Success by elimination, I guess.
I think we all did.
Yeah. So how many guys do you have, and what was it like hiring that first one, if you don't mind sharing? Because I know a lot of listeners are struggling with that.
Well, honestly, my first hire, and I laugh because for many, many years we attended conferences, and Bob and I would sit there and listen to Mike Crow talk. Mm-hmm. And we've joked with Mike that none of us believed him.
Right.
We thought it was crocodile tears and it was a sales act. Right. And then one year we were there and it snapped in, and it was like, you know what, maybe after watching all of these people who were successful under him, maybe it works. And because Mike always says, hire your first inspector at 300 home inspections. Well, I was doing 570.
Wow.
So I was a little late on my hire.
Oh, wow.
But the joke was, if I was doing any more, I was going to be eating dinner through a straw.
Yeah, I got that too.
So I hired my first inspector, who ironically I knew as a realtor, had left South Florida to move to St. Louis where his parents lived, and became a home inspector. I had found one of our mentors was out in St. Louis and helped him become an inspector. And then they moved back here, and he called me and said, are you hiring? And ironically, at the time, I was.
Oh, wow.
And James joined me. It will be 4 years in September that he's with me. He's my lead inspector. He is fabulous. He has a home repair background, so he has the ability to explain things in detail to a home buyer. Not that he's providing estimates, but this is how I might suggest making the repair. So, I mean, James is invaluable to me. I had another inspector I hired about 2 years ago, and due to life changes with his fiancée this past year, moved to Houston, Texas.
Oh, yeah,
so
that's what they were talking about on the mastermind. I remember.
Yes. I actually referred him to one of our mastermind members.
Right.
And he was doing ride-alongs with him, but due to the Texas restrictions with education and everything, he was going to have to be re-educated all over again, and it was going to be a long, drawn-out process. So he went back to a prior career and now works in the retail supermarket industry.
Okay.
And may reconsider at some point. But he left not for any other reason than family. So it wasn't pardon my stutter. It was not a work problem.
Sure.
Then this past year I hired my next guy, who actually is a termite inspector also. And then my newest guy is with us about 5 months now. So I have 3 full-time inspectors, as well as myself, and I'm in the process of interviewing and looking to hire at least 1, if not 2 more.
Awesome. Well, Mark, if you let's say you hired that guy tomorrow, you found a guy that you like, and I know it depends on his or her level of experience, but what does your training process look like? How do you get them from interview to being out on their own? How does that?
Well, once we interview and make an offer, there's generally, depending, and again, you're correct, it depends on his experience. This gentleman actually is licensed and has probably done around 15 home inspections. He works part-time for a home inspection company. But our training process is you come in, you start working with one of our inspectors. You do ride-alongs with them for the first week or so. You're just observing, as well as you're learning our software and our processes. I'll bring them into the office for a couple days, teach them. We use Home Inspector Pro, and yes, Dominic, I'm giving you a plug. We've been using it for almost 10 years now. So
you like Home Inspector? I know I'll ask you about that later. Keep on with the training, brother.
So then what we do is we bring them out in the field, and they start shadowing, and they start watching. And after a week or 2, we have them start helping, checking, as menial as it may sound, we have them checking the windows, doors, and outlets, just to get into the flow.
Sure.
Then as they're improving and they're showing that they've got the capacity to do things, then we have them start doing half of the inspection.
Right.
We'll split the inspection in half, where we do the outside, the mechanicals and electrical, and somebody does the inside. And whoever the senior inspector is will then review his product, go over it with them, review it with the client, and go from there. Once he's showing his ability to do both sides of a split inspection, then we put him on condos or townhomes.
Right, like it.
Let him do those, let him do simple work, and then move forward as he's progressing into smaller or limited size single-family homes,
right?
Possibly without a pool. And then we have our insurance inspections that are done, which are called wind mitigation and 4-point inspections. He's learning those as we're doing this training also. And then once he shows the ability to complete his work, we will then, he'll go out on his own, and it generally takes anywhere from 60 to 90 days to become what we call Waypoint certified.
Right.
Where we feel comfortable doing what he can do. He understands the scripts that he needs to follow when he gets to the inspection, when he's explaining things, providing the client with the wrap-up at the end, providing it to the realtor, and then going home, being able to upload the report, complete it, and send it out. Because our reports are delivered same day electronically, guaranteed.
Wow, that's good, man.
It may be 8 o'clock at night, but it does go out the same day.
That's better than us. We promise it the next morning, but I know some guys print it on site. But
that's not something we want to do. I want to give my guys the ability to go home or go back to the office, review it, make sure everything is properly spelled, all the photos are done right, and then send it out. And because of the template that we use, it makes it much easier to get it done.
Right. You know, we have a lot of agents now, too, that are trying to go paperless. So, you know, they want to show it on their iPod or something, you know, but they don't ever want to print it out. You know what I mean? Because they don't want to kill trees or whatever. So
it's just easier because we leave it on the server and they always have access to it.
Right, right. But I love your training process. It's very much like ours. You know, I always say, you know, it begins where they're the fly on the wall and we're doing the inspection and they're just watching. And I want to get from that to me being the fly on the wall or the head inspector being the fly on the wall to him just watching. So,
correct.
You know, how do we get from there to there? And it's different with all inspectors depending on how quick they pick up or, you know, and some guys are still working another job so they can't, you know, do it as, you know, some guys get the crash course. But, you know, the way you explained it, it reminded me of, you know how they bring a boxer along? They've got this young prospect boxer that thinks going to be great. But they don't throw them to the wolves right away. They kind of step it along, you know. You know what I mean? You wouldn't put them up against. You remember that touch-out game? You know,
yes.
Glass jugs.
Rock'em sock'em robots.
Yeah. You don't put them against. You know, you wouldn't want to put them against Mike Tyson the first time out.
Exactly.
You want to bring them along slow and, you know, sort of set them up for success. You know.
Yep.
That's
exactly.
Right. Well, Mark, do you have a success quote you could share with us?
Well, one of our taglines, we have two taglines. One is we are way more than just a home inspection.
Like it.
Because it's once you're a client of ours, you're a client for life.
Mm-hmm.
And when I'm doing presentations in front of realtors, I tell them, and I don't remember where I heard it first, and it may be I'm stealing it from somebody, but I tell them, give me 5% of your confidence, and I guarantee I will earn the other 95%.
I like it. Well, that's a good transition to my next question. Let's say that I am a buyer or real estate agent in your market. Now, Mark, there's other home inspectors in your market. Why should I hire you? Is there something you do that others don't?
Well, I'm sure many inspectors handle their inspections the same way that we do. But what makes us different is being the owner and general manager of the company. Mm-hmm. If there is a concern, my cell phone is never off.
Right.
Everybody has access to me. Everyone has access to my inspectors. On top of that, we do have some warranties that we currently use to back up our inspections because everybody knows things happen once you leave the house. Right. The average home inspector, it's a taillight warranty that when you can't see the taillights on his truck anymore, the warranty's over.
Right.
It's something that we've been using for quite some time, and while it's something that does provide limited coverage, I believe we provide the best service and the best product compared to the other guys that are out there. Our product itself is what sells itself. The systems that we use that are in place from the time you call my office to book an inspection. We do have a person in the office answering the phones from 8:30 to 5. We do have a backup call center that answers till 10 o'clock at night. But once that job is ordered, within an hour, everybody is receiving confirmations electronically. 24 hours before the inspection, everybody gets an email and a text message reminding them, hey, we have an inspection tomorrow at 9 o'clock in the morning. Please make sure the utilities are on. For the listing agents, we actually even send them a video How to prepare a house for a home inspection. Do I know how many watched them? No, but it's something that it sets us apart.
Awesome.
We're also providing a lot of education to the realtors. We do a lot of classes. How to do a pre-listing inspection. What's a wind mitigation and 4-point inspection? What are different questions? And they'll give us ideas, and we'll design them, and we'll bring a class in. We'll bring in breakfast or lunch. I don't do the pancakes like you do. But we'll do breakfast or lunch and provide it, and we'll get a full class. And it really makes a difference, because when you get the newbies versus I like it even better when you get the old realtors, the old school guys who come up to you afterwards and go, you know what? I learned more in the last hour and a half than I've ever known about home inspections.
Wow, that's pretty strong. They've been around for a while.
But the other difference also, and this was something we changed last year, and it's a lot of similar gentlemen in MIC who are doing it, it's no longer about us. We don't go into an office and say, okay, we are Waypoint Home Inspection, and we are the best that there is, and this is why we are the best, and this is what we do, and blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
We go in and talk about the realtor.
Right.
We talk to them about how we're going to make them better, how we're going to get their listing sold faster and for more money. Because if it's not for them, we don't have a job.
Right.
So the more successful they are, the more successful we are.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I've always heard, I've heard it from different people. I don't know where I originally heard it, but every person you look at, see, what is it, WIFM, you should see that stamp on their forehead. What's in it
right.
for me?
Exactly.
For them. You know, so everything you're communicating should be what's in it for them. Otherwise, you know, you're just another person that brought lunch or breakfast.
Right. You're absolutely right.
But that's awesome. Well, Mark, I'm going to combine these two questions. Tell us something most people don't know about you. And if you had spare time, what would you do? But I know running a business and having grandkids, you don't have a whole lot of spare time. But then again, maybe that's what you do. But anyway, what are you doing?
Something most people don't know about me. I mean, everybody who knows me through MIC and knows me in the outward world, I appear to be this strong, confident, outgoing person. And I'm actually somewhat of an introvert. I have done a lot of training in the past year and a half to help overcome that. I joke a lot when I'm in big crowds because that's my way of kind of putting on a facade.
Right.
But no, I now enjoy talking in front of people. You're going to hear this story a lot from a lot of people who are part of MIC because A, we have to, and B, the training that we're taking to become dynamic speakers, to be able to present better, to do things. We're being trained by world-class business coaches, and it's helping us to get better. As far as spare time, well, obviously my family to me is number one. My daughter and son-in-law and grandchildren live about 20 minutes south of me. So we see them quite often, and actually, ironically, my son-in-law is away this week, so my daughter is struggling with juggling 3 kids, an 8-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 6-month-old.
Oh, wow.
And the 8-year-old had Little League practice last night. So here came Pop-Pop at 7:30, picked him up, took him to Little League practice, and we were out till 10 o'clock last night. So, yes, we spend as much time as we can with them. I love traveling. A lot of people last summer were watching me on Facebook. My wife and I were fortunate enough to spend 17 days in Italy.
Oh, wow.
We took a trip of a lifetime last summer. And then my big advice is golf. I play golf every Sunday morning.
There you is. Oh, awesome. What's your handicap?
About a 10, between a 10 and a 12, which is great when you only play one time a week and never have time to practice anyway.
Yeah, I'm going to learn. I'll tell you, man. Right now, I'm good at putt-putt.
There you go.
They're hard to find these days.
We need to put an MIC golf tournament together.
There you go. Well, Mark, you know as well as I do that if you do enough inspections, you're going to have an unhappy camper. How do you handle an unhappy camper? Do you have a process? What's that look like?
We try to nip it in the bud initially. I mean, we get the phone call. We get the realtor calling us saying, "Oh my God, the dishwasher's leaking after the client moves into the house." Okay, well, it could be something. It wasn't leaking at the time of the inspection. Everybody was there with us.
Right.
So if it's something small and minor that can be fixed, we do have a couple vendors we work with who will go out and take care of things for us, and we'll pay them directly. We'll try to coach the people as to, well, please understand, you did your inspection 2.5 months ago. We're not in the house. We don't have control of it.
Right.
So things do occur. If it's something that can be covered by a warranty, we do then hand them off to the warranty company and let them take care of it. We have had situations where, you know what, we missed something. And nobody's perfect.
Right.
And we have stepped up and written a check to fix something. Fortunately, in the 11 years and probably 8,000 or 9,000 home inspections, nothing has been so significant that it's going to threaten my business.
Right.
We do carry the excess of what the state requires for E&O and GL coverage on our insurance, but we've never used it.
Right.
My guys are trained by me. It's how you talk to somebody that helps versus the person who gets the phone call and automatically gets on a defensive.
Right.
If you can sit and talk to somebody and explain it to them in a way that it's calm and reserved, chances are they're not going to be upset. They're going to understand, and it's going to go away.
Right. Right. That's good advice, man. It's good advice. I've been through that. That's my weakness. Fortunately, I have somebody now who handles most of mine. But I think your message there to try not to get emotional about it and try not to take it personally is a good one. It's hard to do sometimes as the owner of the business, though, you know.
Yes, it is.
Well, Mark, we are going to get into some highs and lows in a time when you failed and success. But first, let's take a pause for our sponsor.
Hey, home inspectors out there. I'm going to tell you a creative, inexpensive way to increase your business massively. Go to homeinspectionflyers.com and get the flyers. You get 5 flyers a month. You customize them to yourself. They're turnkey, they're creative, and it's $29 a month for 5 flyers. That's less than $6 a flyer. And they are done by yours truly, Preston Sandlin. And I am a creative guy, especially when I don't take my medication. But I come up with some crazy stuff. It works for my business. I went from 1 inspector to 7 inspectors with this strategy alone. So again, for $29.95, you get 5 flyers. I do 1 per week. I send them off to get copied on the internet. I can get them for about 7 cents a piece, and I put them out in the boxes when I do my candy run. Works fantastic. homeinspectionflyers.com. Thanks.
All right. Well, I am back here with Mark Wahl. He has been dropping gold nuggets all over the place. He is with Waypoint Property Inspections East, I think, and I'm so glad to be talking to Mark because we actually had an interview scheduled back in the fall, and you guys had a hurricane.
Well, we had what was supposed to be a hurricane. Fortunately, it wasn't.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad everybody's okay. Well,
thank
Mark,
you.
Tell us about a time when you failed. Take us there and what you learned from it.
I don't know if you want to call it a failure. I had referenced it before. It was in corporate life and was very successful in what I was doing and opened up Waypoint as a part-time weekend business.
Right.
And I was working for a large company, and unfortunately, when you live in certain areas of Florida, when you come from the Northeast, you're not always the most welcome people. And I had a boss at the time who was threatened by the fact that here comes a fast-talking person from the Northeast,
Right.
where he is a true Southerner and was born and raised in Central Florida, and it was a different personality.
Right.
I also had relationships with people in corporate level just because when I worked for the company up in New York and New Jersey, I was friends with these people.
Right.
So when he had an opportunity to take me out of the equation, per se, he did. And to be perfectly honest, I thank him for it every day.
Right.
Because it forced me to build what I have today. To be doing 12 to 1,500 home inspections a year. To be the person who I am and be able to do for my friends and family what I can do.
Right, and somewhat control your destiny, versus when you work somewhere, that's what I always tell people. I'm like, bad things happen in business. I lose a client or something, but it's one client out of many. But, your boss gets mad at you, fires you, you're done. I mean, with a job. So,
You're right.
Fortunately, we have many clients. So, we can have a bad day, but it's just a bad day. A bad
You're absolutely right. And you go home and you hug your wife and you hug your grandchildren or your kids, and tomorrow's another day.
Yeah, I hear you, brother. Hey, and I did want to comment on you were talking about the northern, southern, I'm from the South, but I worked my way through college delivering caskets up to New York and New Jersey. It's a long story. I drove all night, drove a truck. I had my CDL and all that. So anyway, I'd be delivering these caskets. My dad was in the funeral business. That's why I got. So anyway,
right.
I'm delivering, and I learned a lot. I mean, there is a Southern saying that people think that, people from up north are rude or short with you or something. I don't really think it was that so much, because I was in New York City. I said, man, there's just so dang many people. I said, you don't have time to make small talk.
Right.
In the South, when you're in the South, when you call somebody, you don't just say what you want or what you're calling for. You got to talk about the kids, the dog.
Exactly.
How's the kids? Well, the reason I was calling, and I said, man, when you get up north, there's just too dang many people, man. You just got to get to the point. And probably the reverse is true. The frustration, people move down from the north, and like, will these people ever get to the point? And I said, I think it's just a cultural thing. But, I've learned, one thing I did learn by accident, though, I would call back at each stop and check on things, and I'm calling there in front of them. I said, hey, yeah, I like the guy, give me a $20 tip. And I'm standing, right in front of the person, so then they give you a tip.
Right.
And then just a little side note that I learned there. So anyway, sorry I got off.
Absolutely.
Well, Mark, on the other end of the spectrum, have you had an I made it moment, or maybe not an I made it moment so much as I've come a long way? Have you had one of those?
I guess a few years back we were chugging along, doing what we do best, and being in South Florida, where I am, in Palm Beach County, we deal with some of the richest people in the world.
Right. Yes, you do.
And there was an article in Palm Beach not long ago that said the most money in the world passes through the banks of Palm Beach Island every day.
Wow.
And we were doing an inspection for the vice chairman of one of the motor car companies. And when we got done with the inspection, he was standing there, and we're talking about a 18,000 square foot house.
Whew.
And he said, I own a lot of property all over the place, and I obviously buy and sell or do what I want to do in my life, but I got to tell you, you guys are amazing at what you do. And it made me feel good.
Yeah, no kidding.
Because here's somebody who could have hired an engineer or hired whoever he wanted to do his inspection, and he hired us because his realtor trusted us. and he has now referred us a tremendous amount of business.
That's awesome.
It made me feel good that, you know what, we really do know what we're doing, and we really are good at what we do.
Yeah, that's great. That's awesome. I want to back up on what you said there, too, and you're right. The wealthiest people in the world do live in Florida at least part of the year. And
yeah.
I wanted to, I think I'm right in saying this. It's two reasons. Number one, it's warm, nice place to be in the wintertime. And number two, I think isn't a lot of it that there's not a state income tax, and that
correct.
It's just always been especially South Florida, I think especially, isn't it? I mean, like family money, trust fund money.
Yes, you have a lot of trust fund babies here.
I wouldn't even know what that's like. I've been poor most of my life.
No, but you know what? I look at how I've watched you and Meg over the past 5 or 6 years, and watched how you guys have grown.
Oh.
And it's all by doing it right.
Well, thanks. Well, I appreciate you saying that. From the inside,
it's more Meg than you, I know.
Yeah,
but.
It is. You're right. For me, it's process of elimination. I'm hard-headed, man. I have to do it the wrong way first. Even though somebody told me, and then I finally get it. Well, Mark, do you have a favorite book you could recommend for our listeners? And what is it about the book that appeals to you?
You know what? I've read a lot of different books through the years, and I'm starting to actually read more coaching and business books. So I don't have one specific one. I mean, I'm a big John Grisham fan. I'm a big Clive Cussler fan.
Me too.
But not one specific one really stands out. We're starting to, and I can thank Mike for this, we are reading several of Napoleon Hill's books now, which are amazing. Between Outwitting the Devil and Think and Grow Rich.
Right.
Which were ones I probably in my life would have never thought about reading. But no, it's not one stands out. I mean, we're actually, and I had spoken with you about this previous, we're actually being part of a collaborative book on our own, where it's the story of Waypoint. It's where we started and the highs and the lows and the highs of where we were and how we got to where we're at. That's hopefully going to be published in the next couple months. It's going to be with 6 or 7 other authors, and I believe the official name of it is going to be Changing Gears, because it's being collaborated by a gentleman named Lane Etheridge, who owns a company called Changing Lanes International. Mm-hmm. And it's how people have to change gears and change lanes in life to be successful or even just to survive. And it's everybody doing the same thing. Nobody's different.
Well, that book comes out. Let me know. I'll put a plug out on my site.
I appreciate that. And it actually, I believe, will be available on Amazon.
So Changing Gears. Be looking for that. Mark Wahl. And what was the other author's name? Or collaborator?
Lane Etheridge is the person who runs a company called Changing Lanes International. He's a very dynamic business coach that we've met through some of our MIC coaches.
Okay.
So.
Cool. Hey, I want to back up on what you said, and I'm going to be off topic here for a minute, but I take it you're a big Alex Cross fan, if you like James Patterson.
Yes.
And I wanted to ask you, the Clive Cussler, did you ever read the one about the Hunley, the first submarine they found off the coast of South Carolina?
No, I have not.
Oh, man, read that book. And then if you ever are up in South Carolina, Charleston, you got to go see the Hunley, because if you read the book, it's just the most awesome thing. It was the first submarine, and it sunk. It actually sunk a ship, but then it sunk on its own, and it was lost. They only found it 12, 15 years ago. I mean, they never could find where it was. But here's the real, I don't know, I don't want to say it's a good thing about it, but it's an amazing thing about this story. there were 5 people in that submarine, and, they pedaled. And, it was an ironclad sub. And the guy who was in charge, I can't think of his name right now, he carried around this lucky gold coin. I mean, this was all known before they, and somebody gave him one, I think his girlfriend or something gave him this lucky gold coin, and he was in another Civil War battle somewhere, Manassas or somewhere, and he was shot in the leg, and that coin saved his life because that coin actually stopped the bullet. So he's actually carrying this coin that is, somewhat messed up by a iron ball, and that was for years and years that was like everybody said that it's kind of like a legend or whatever. Well, when they found the Hunley and they excavated it and it's on display down there, they actually found that coin.
Really?
It's on display. Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, I can't believe they haven't made a movie out of it. I mean, it's like such a good story. I mean, it's almost like, have you ever seen the Titanic? How they show it from the people. I mean, that's the way the story's told, of them looking for this thing and finally finding it, and then basically unlocking the treasures, so to speak, which is more historical treasures.
Right.
Yeah, I'm a big history buff too, so that may make me like it a little bit more than the average person.
Well, you and Troy Pappas should get along well because Troy's like that down in the Keys when he's visiting his dad.
Oh yeah.
They do a lot of diving down there for history.
Awesome. Well, the next time you need a book to read, or if you're on vacation or something, get that one. Clive Cussler, The Huntley. I don't know the exact name of it, but
I will look it up though.
Good book. Well, I better get on with it because I know you got work to do, and I'm sorry. I told you.
Oh, that's fine.
Like a conversation at the bar. Well, Mark, we talked about how the changes you've seen, and I know nobody has a crystal ball, but if you did have a crystal ball, what would you predict would be the changes in the future of home inspection?
I'd like to see the standards tightened up a little bit to where it can't be done by just about anybody, and make it where not necessarily national standards, but following whether it be Internachi or ASHI or any of these other organizations where, you need to be able to do a job to a certain standard and provide it in such a way that it's not any different. I mean, we do ancillary things, we provide ancillary products, but home inspections, it should be similar whether I walk in the door, you walk in the door, or John Smith walks in the door.
Right.
The other problem is eliminating the low-priced cheapie.
Right, cheap Charlie.
Because, we have plenty of cheap Charlies here where I was on the phone this morning with a prospect and we quoted a price and she was able to get somebody for $150 less. And I said, ma'am, you could choose whoever you want, but do yourself a favor. This is going to be one of the largest purchases you ever make. Right. Don't pick an inspector by price.
Value. Pick it on value.
Right.
Value.
So, and she understood that. So,
cool. Well, Mark, I know the answer to this question before I ask because it's the same for every inspector. Have you ever been thrown under the bus by a contractor? I know I have. How do you handle it? Do you have any ideas on how others can handle it?
We have been, and ironically, it's probably all by the same contractor. Usually it's a roofer who says, oh, the home inspector didn't see this, and, there's mold in your attic, and I can't believe they didn't see it. Mm-hmm. Well, A, I expect it because I know the industry. But B, I then have some of my own contractors that I do close work with.
Right.
Who I value their opinion. And I'll send them out to go take a look at something before I talk to the other contractor. Sure. You have to have enough arrows in your own quiver to counteract somebody like that. And somebody's going to come back to you and say, oh, well, he works for you. Well, no, he doesn't. This is somebody who we do work with. He is a licensed roofer. He is a licensed plumber. I've had situations where we had a gentleman we did an inspection for, and 6 months later his air conditioning system died. And they blame me. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, first of all, did you have the unit serviced when we recommended it? He said, no, they're doing it now. I said, well, no disrespect, but I don't agree. And he said, well, they're changing the unit now, and I think you owe me for this air conditioner. I said, they're actually at your house right now? And he said, yes. So I actually called an air conditioning company that I use personally and said, would you do me a favor? Go check the unit that they just pulled out and tell me what's wrong with it. And they went and they pressurized the coils in the driveway, and he said absolutely nothing. And I called the gentleman back. I said, well, I don't know what they're charging you for this, but guess what? Your air conditioning system was just fine. It needed to be serviced.
So why did he call the air conditioner? Was he just calling them to have it serviced, or was he having a problem?
He called them to have it serviced. When we did the inspection, it wasn't running perfectly.
Right.
But it needed servicing.
Right.
And it's a company down here. I don't want to mention their names, but they are a service contractor I don't want to say nationwide. They're in the Southeast region, and they provide service contracts for all products, air conditioning, electrical, whatever. It's like Service America. Right. And they were there servicing it, and unfortunately, a lot of times the technicians are on commission.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and a lot of these, like $49, $69 tune-up, that's code for lead generation for a new system.
Exactly.
They're not going to come out there and just clean your system for $49 and everything's great and they're going to walk away.
Right.
They're going to come tell you how bad your system is, da-da-da-da, and if they install this new system, how much money you'll save, and blah, blah, blah. But wait a minute, is anything wrong with my old system?
Right.
Well, you mentioned the mold guys. They're the worst in our area. Not all of them, but some of them. Do you have those guys that come in and scare the people with mold and scare them into mold remediation? And, basically they want to, in our area, they want to, we have a lot of crawl spaces. So they basically want to seal up every crawl space, whether it needs it or not. Do you have those guys in your area?
We do. Fortunately, on my coast, unlike some of the other areas, we don't have a lot of crawl spaces. But you'll find it in the attic. Oh, and you have stains in your attic, and the mold, it's been there for years. And first of all, unless they're a mold testing company, how do they know it's been there for years?
Right.
Second of all, it takes 24 hours to grow.
Right.
So I use actually 2 independent mold testing companies who do not do remediation. So if I have somebody who is making an allegation or something like that, I will send them out to test for me.
Awesome. Smart.
It's, every house in South Florida has some strain.
Yeah, you got a lot of humidity, a lot of moisture there.
But it's not necessarily a hazardous mold. It's a mold spore that is in normal life that you find outside.
Right.
So it's a hard thing to fight, but we do our best.
I hear you. Well, Mark, we just got a couple more questions. I know we're winding down here towards the end. I really
Absolutely.
Appreciate your time. This will be a fun one, hopefully. Now remember this is a G-rated show, I told I to. What is the craziest, wildest, or weirdest thing you or one of your guys have ever found on a home inspection?
Well, actually, I was doing an inspection down in Miami. It was the owner of the house more than what we found in the inspection.
Right.
I was sitting in his office speaking with him. We were doing a pre-listing inspection for him. Mm-hmm. And all the books in his office were medical books, medical research and different things.
Right.
And I said to him, "Oh, Mr. Such and Such, are you a doctor?" He goes, "No, I enjoy reading medical books and doing research, but I'm an author." I said,
Oh,
"Really?" He goes, "Oh." I said, "Do you write fiction, nonfiction?" He goes, I do both." I said, "Well, is there anything you've written that I would recognize?" He goes, "Probably." And it happened to be the author of Silence of the Lambs.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow. Clarice.
Clarice, some fava beans and Chianti. But he was it was a very interesting conversation because he was a brilliant man. And he was not a doctor, but he learned everything from reading medical books.
Yeah, because I remember the movie or the book, and it was you had to know, like there was a lot of medical stuff in
Terminology.
it. Yeah. Wow, that's pretty incredible. That's pretty
incredible.
Yeah. Wow.
And I mean, we see a lot of crazy things. I mean, we'll go into houses that'll have $5 million worth of cars sitting in the garage.
Right.
Walking into a 10,000 square foot house at least once a month. So I mean, we see it all. We just don't see snow.
Yeah. Well, we don't see it for long. It snowed on Sunday, and it was gone in 2 hours.
There you go.
Well, Mark, is there anything you're working on right now that has you jacked up or excited about?
We're implementing a lot of new products and processes after coming back from Dallas for 3 days. You always come out of there with a brain full of information, and it's kind of hard to implement, but fortunately I have a phenomenal support staff here. We actually just hired or rehired, if you'd like to use that term, a marketing person who is with us full time now, who has hit the ground running. And we're going to be implementing a lot of new marketing processes. And I have a fabulous client care coordinator who takes my calls and books our jobs as well as our call center. And honestly, while my wife works full time in another career, we do a lot of talking about things, and we hand out a lot of products at inspections. We hand out swag bags, and everything is customized to our company, and she comes up with the phrases. Mm-hmm. Like in the swag bag is a bag of a bottle of hand sanitizer, tissues, a pad, and a pen. And the hand sanitizer, she came up with the phrase, best hands-on home inspection company.
Oh.
And on the tissues, it says Waypoint Nose, in quotes, N-O-S-E, Homes.
Nice.
So we're coming up with a bunch of new things since we're going to be coming into summertime to put out there, whether it's for the agents or the clients. Some people put out seasonal or holiday-like candy bowls for the agents. We're actually going to do something special for our agents come summertime for their offices. So you will see that on Facebook, because like most of us know, we all live on Facebook. Right. And we'll be putting out afterwards what we've done, because I don't want John Tyler to steal it.
Well, it sounds like your wife is very clever. I have an idea for you. I do this, but it sounds like your wife would be fantastic at it. Take your wife into the dollar store, and you guys go up and down the aisles and look at different items and challenge her to come up with a phrase, a marketing phrase with each item. You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
Like I've done that. Like I'll see dice, and like, don't roll the dice with that other home inspector, or something like that. Something you could use. Or you see one of these puzzles, and you're like, are you missing a few pieces to your real estate deals, or are you a few? I don't know. But challenge her. I bet she could come up.
A few cards short of a deck with that home inspection company.
Yeah. I bet she could come up with just look at items. And then you could buy those items and come up with a little tagline to put on it. But I bet she would be brilliant.
She does do that. She's wonderful like that.
Awesome.
So that's why I pick her brains.
There you go. Well, I got 3 questions left. I'm going to let you get on with your day, Mark.
Absolutely.
If you had to move to a brand new town equal to, or equal to the size or population, whatever, of where you live now. You had all your equipment, room and board's taken care of. You have all your training, all your guys. Everything's the same. It's just you don't know anybody. It's a brand new place, and you had $5,000 to market in the first week. What are you doing with that $5,000? Where are you going to get the most bang for your buck?
That's an interesting question.
It's kind of an ROI question. What if you only had $5,000 to market in a brand new area? What would be the best? What do you think you'd get the most return on?
It would probably be visiting with the realtors and providing them with information about us and what we do and how we do it, and just reinforcing quality versus quantity.
Right. No, it's good stuff. Is there anything that I should have asked you that I did?
No, we've been on the phone now for quite a while doing this, and I think everything, you're unbelievably thorough, which does not surprise me.
No.
That's why I when you asked me to do this, I said absolutely, because as I said before, I've watched you and Meg grow, and I watch the people ahead of us at MIC, the Rob and Michelle Hopkins, and Chad and you, and we all joke that's what we want to be when we grow up.
Oh, please. I've been chasing Gordon forever.
Well, we all chase Gordon, and we don't know why.
Yeah, that's right. Well, Mark, thank you so much for your time. Lots of gold nuggets. For all our listeners out there, if you've got some value, let's give some value back to this guy by going to his Facebook, giving him some likes, and buying his book when it comes out. What's your Facebook page, Mark?
You can just look up Waypoint Property Inspections East on Facebook, and you will find us. Awesome.
Give this guy some likes, because I think that helps him with search engine optimization. At least that's what they tell me. I don't. That's above my pay.
You're in the same boat I am. So.
Well, is there an email or some way if they wanted to get in touch with you?
Absolutely. My email is Mark, M-A-R-K, at waypointinspection.com. That's WAYPOINTINSPECTION.com. And if they'd like to call me, you can reach out to me in my office at 561-676-0546.
Awesome. And one last time, the name of when it comes out, the name of the book and the two authors to look for on Amazon.
I believe it is going to be called Changing Gears.
Okay.
And the gentleman who is producing the book is named Lane Etheridge, Etheridge, and his company name is Changing Lanes International.
Awesome. Well, Mark, I appreciate your time. I know all the listeners got all kinds of gold nuggets. Hopefully they weren't trying to write them down and drive. Hopefully they'll go back and listen to it. But I'm going to let you get on about your day, and I just want to say I appreciate it a lot, Mark.
Well, thank you very much, Preston, and we will see you soon.
All right, brother. Have a good day.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Guys, I want to talk to you about a way that you can make more money and less liability. Actually, no liability. InspectNewHomes.com. InspectNewHomes.com. What happened is one of the largest builders in our market came to us and wanted us to do all the pre-inspections on all of their new homes. But they didn't want us to use just our normal reporting software. They wanted a system set up specifically for a builder so that they could do quality control on their subs, and they could also advertise that all their homes were inspected by a third party. So we came up with this software, this system, a website, a whole turnkey thing where you can take this and take it to your builder and show them how you can save them time, save them money, reduce the adversarial relationship. And it's a whole new market. You will not have to compete with other home inspectors for this market, and it reduces the adversarial relationship with the builder, and best of all, there's no liability. So I'm telling you, it is great. It's phenomenal.
I'd love to tell you the amount of money we've made with this system, a lot. But you're welcome to check it out, inspectnewhomes.com, or on the Successful Home Inspector podcast, you can, there's a tab on there as well. All right, if you would like to make some more money with almost no liability, check out inspectnewhomes.com.
Thanks for checking out the Successful Home Inspector podcast. You can find show links at thesuccessfulhomeinspector.com. Check out the website for special offers, information, and other resources. Thanks again for listening to the Successful Home Inspector podcast. And remember to check back for new episodes. The Successful Home Inspector podcast is brought to you by Preston Sandlin and Home Inspection Carolina.